In 2001, 18-year-old Paul Joseph Watson would watch The Secret Rulers of the World, a documentary by the journalist Jon Ronson, who was the British individual that accompanied Alex Jones in infiltrating Bohemian Grove. Despite living in London, England, Paul Joseph Watson would become an avid viewer of Alex Jones and InfoWars in a whole. The first video he would watch would be an interview with Alex Jones where he interviewed guest Charlton Heston, a famous actor.
And I don't say that lightly. I mean, everybody knows who Charlton Heston is, and it really made the socialist in the culture war, as Mr. Heston calls it, angry when he stepped up to the plate a couple of years ago, back into the Second Amendment fight, and now his new book is amazing, The Courage to Be Free. Mr. Heston, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for loaning me your audience. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
You bet. Why did you decide to get back really involved in the Second Amendment fight at the forefront and to write this new book, The Courage to Be Free?
Well, of course, I've been involved with the Second Amendment, you could say, since I was a little kid shooting deer up in Michigan. But then I became involved more seriously with the Bill of Rights, and I came to see the importance of defending every one of the 12 articles of the Bill of Rights, of which the second is the right to keep and bear arms. And we had a lot of success with it in the last election. It was an interesting thing. The president last April felt that this would be a good time to take down the NRA, and he made a couple of brief radio addresses about it and so on, but he realized it wasn't going to fly, and so he abandoned it. And of course, what he didn't realize, as we found ourselves rather amazed to find when I was campaigning through, 8 different states and several different cities, and what the president did not realize is not just the NRA. The NRA has, just under 5,000 members now. I'm sorry, 5 million. And we campaigned on this issue in part because, of course, as again, the president did not realize that an overwhelming proportion of people in this country are hunters. Of course they are. This is hunting country. The whole continent is a hunting continent, except for New York City and L.A., of course.
Yeah, those basic...
And we had enormous success. We would gather crowds. Flint, Michigan, I think, was the biggest one. We had a rally at 7 o'clock in the morning, which meant people who were going to work, of course, driving to work, had to get up to come at 6 o'clock. And we had over 3,000 people in some different venues. And in every case, the Second Amendment won the day. It was quite surprising, I have to say.
Well, we see the mainstream media, the controlled propaganda arms is what I call them, and I think they've shown themselves to deserve that title, convincing a lot of people that the average American isn't for the Second Amendment. But if you can explain to people the basics of how it's there to defend us from the street thug, the government thug, or to put food on the table, not to mention just as a sporting enjoyment and heritage, most people are actually for it. John Ashcroft right now, they're trying to confirm him. I think he would be a good...
I think he will be confirmed. I think he will make a fine Attorney General, certainly a far better one than Janet Reno.
A few days later, Jon Ronson would release a never-before-seen clip from the film The Secret Rulers of the World, where Alex Jones would call out fellow conspiracy theorist David Icke about his preposterous theories that seem to muddy down the waters of his.
The conspiracy theory world is highly competitive, and ever since David burst onto the scene with his extraordinary new theory about the genetic origins of the shadowy elite, his fellow conspiracy investigators have been scandalized.
Now is the time! Not tomorrow! Not next week! Not next year! We're engaging an info war!
Everywhere I've been, meeting people who are trying to uncover the great conspiracy, the subject of David Icke always seems to come up.
So what's David Icke doing on TV?
We have a lot of different producers. You just get tired of the real meat and potatoes, the real issues. So he's gone for all the ridiculous Hollywood stuff of David Icke and the blood-drinking lizard people. So what does David Icke do? He talks about the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, these global elitists, these power structures, all real, all true, all demonstrated by bills and executive orders and prime ministers and premiers and presidents. All real meat and potatoes, something you can bite into, something that is easily demonstratable. And then you've got David Icke at the end of all this. He says, by the way, they're blood-drinking lizards. Blood, Al Gore needs blood to drink. So does Prince Philip. I mean, it's asinine. And it's being picked up by people, and so it discredits all of the reality that people are talking about. And that's the problem with David Icke. He's got a good line to a point, and then he discredits it all. It's like a turd in the punch bowl. That's his job. He's got this nice big thing, you know, this nice fruit punch, nice ice cubes floating around in it, you know, and then he takes a big dump right in the middle of it, and no one's going to drink out of that punch bowl.
After his 9/11 comments and his battle with David Icke's following, Alex Jones would lose a friend, one being Milton William Cooper, who would then go on his syndicated show and call out Alex Jones.
Before we get started, I have to clear up a little discrepancy here. Apparently the other night, or within the last week, because I've been getting a lot of email about this, and I even received one telephone call. Apparently somebody called the Alex Jones broadcast and asked him why he didn't have me on the air, or asked him something about me. Alex Jones said he had me on the air once before, several years ago, and had to cut me off the air because of the foul language that I used. So on the air tonight, I'm going to tell you, Alex Jones, you are a bold-faced, miserable, stinking little coward liar. Now let me say that again so there's no mistake about it. You can all tell Alex Jones that I said this, and I suspect he's listening because he does. Alex Jones, you are a bold-faced, stinking, rotten little coward liar. I was only on the Alex Jones show one time. It was years ago, when I didn't know who he was, when I didn't realize what a liar and a coward and a sensationalist bullshit artist that he is. He was on one little FM station down in Texas. He wasn't on all the stuff that he's on now. And I agreed to be on his broadcast. That's when I was doing guest appearances on broadcasts, years ago. I was not cut off. I did not use any kind of foul language whatsoever. He treated me very well, and I stayed on for the whole show. Some of you in Texas know that that's true because you heard the broadcast and you taped it. Later, when I found out who Alex Jones was and what he was doing to the truth, and what a cowardly liar and sensationalist he really is, every time he called me after that, I have always refused to appear on his broadcast. Absolutely refused to lend him any credibility whatsoever by appearing on his broadcast. And that made him very angry. I've also revealed him for the lying sensationalist bullshit artist that he is by every once in a while bringing to your attention the lies and the deceit and the rumors that he spreads over the airwaves that are not good for any of us and they're not good for the nation. They are especially not good for militia and patriots. The most disgusting broadcast he ever did was on New Year's Eve, the year 2000, the New Year's Eve, 1999, bringing in the year 2000, which he went completely out of his mind and claimed that Russia had launched intercontinental ballistic missiles with multiple warheads at the United States of America and actually panicked millions of people who were putting their children and their belongings in their cars and heading for the hills. Now, there's lots of things that can be said about me. Nobody needs to lie about me. Sometimes I am irritating. Sometimes I absolutely will not suffer fools and am just as rude as I can be. Nobody has to lie about me, Alex Jones. So I suggest that the next time somebody calls your broadcast and asks them about me, you tell the truth. There's lots of truth that you can tell about me. But don't ever lie on me, buddy, because I'll chop you off at your ankles. I will chew you up. I will spit you out for the lying, stinking, rotten little coward that you are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have to say about Mr. Sensationalist, lying, rumor-mongering, bullshit artist, Alex Jones. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Cooper.
Hi.
Listen, that Alex Jones interview was directly after you published the Veritas June 26, 1998 issue about the Cooper family being targeted by the feds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah,
And
back in 1990. So did he kick me off the air?
No, he's a liar, and you've pointed it out, and I heard that interview, and you were nothing but cordial.
Yeah. Well, that's the truth.
That's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Bye-bye.
Alex Jones is a miserable, rotten, little, stinking, cowardly, bull-faced liar. Boy, you know, all of these people ought to know better than to mess with me, because I don't take any crap from anybody. And if I'm not afraid of the whole machinations of the entire government Gestapo, what in the hell makes Alex Jones think that I would ever be afraid of his cowardly little rotten butt? Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to let you know I verify what you said about that Alex Jones interview. They had it archived on the internet at one time, and I did hear that interview, and there was nothing wrong with what you did.
And I wasn't thrown off the air, was I?
Not a bit.
No. And that's the only interview I ever did with Alex Jones. As soon as I found out what he was doing and who he really was, he's called me back at least 100 times since then, and I've always told him to take a hike. So anyway, thank you.
On the day of the new year, January 1st, 2001, Alex Jones would accidentally release an extended cut of his 9/11 coverage that revealed an emotional episode when discussing the topic.
The beast is upon us, oh God! It's gonna get worse and worse. Oh. They love death. They come to kill. They are killing. I'm sorry. The New World Order's gotta be defeated, oh God! Please, God, please protect us from the New World Order! Please protect the children, oh God! Oh God! Oh God! No! Just Stephanie, play Renegades or something. I gotta get myself together. We'll come back and get into the news. I'm sick of chronicling their evil.
Despite Alex's downfall in 2001, he would push forward into 2002. Him and Mike Hansen had a lot going on, and he was about to make a large expansion to the InfoWars brand.